Oh man, guys. Oh man, we are almost to the melting point. Look at this poor woman. She's obviously lost in the desert, not a drop of water in sight. Her only chance to get any moisture is that block of ice she holds in her hand. She's just dying to experience the thaw, and so are we. If your biggest hope right now is just that more than a couple of pennies per night thaws out of that glacier drop, or if you're finding value in these videos, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies DRep address and the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Okay, everybody, welcome. This is kind of an exciting night. I think this is a bit of an exciting night. We are right at the edge. Right at the melting point. The glacier is about to thaw. You can see this poor woman lost in the desert. We're only concerned about her safety. Will she die of dehydration? Will she be able to get any moisture out of that ice cube? Only a safety issue here. We're only monitoring her health. That's our only concern for this poor lady in the desert. Let's see who's here though. B117 IZ says I use the same wallet for Glacier Drop and Scavenger Mine, but my thaw only shows Scavenger Mine amount. Did I mess up? I think some people addressed that down below. Neo Chat is here. Hilldog is here. That's right. Let's fucking go. This is the uncensored video. Oh, sorry. I was going to say this is uncensored and then say let's fucking go. Apologies to the carpools. Apologies to the carpools. Little ones, cover your ears. I know we're a little late for that, but let's fucking go. Neo Chat asked, same exact address. This is in reference to B117's question. Or did your wallet generate a second address? I had to look up my Glacier Drop address and plug it in separately to see that amount. Yep, I noticed this as well. When I saw B117's question, the first thing I thought of was that it might have been a second address. So check that out. That's right, unfucking censored. That's right, Donkey Ned. From now on, we are. Apologies to the carpools. I know we're terrible people. We are terrible, terrible Cardano people, but this is what we are. Tuesdays are uncensored. Mondays are uncensored. Wednesdays and Thursdays. And if you watch the next day, then that would include Friday. If you watch same day, Sunday. So pretty much every day is uncensored. Every day is uncensored now. Yep. Let's fucking go. 8 Eclipse. Let's fucking go. James Syracuse is here. James Syracuse says, does Steve Case still have an account? I'm a fire up account hacker or sabotage tonight. Who is Steve Case? Who is Steve Case? Let's go, Emilio. Let's go. Neo Chad, notice the ice cube. It's your only chance of survival, guys. That ice cube, she's got to work on that ice cube. It's your only chance of survival. Good morning from beautiful Cape Town. This is Gary H. I'm still laughing at how you define Fibonacci's as astrology for men. It surely is. If anything is the astrology for men, it is Fibonacci's. J. Marie, hello. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Number one, yes. Today is a day to go for number one. 48 days, and I get to drink 25% of my night ice Kool-Aid. Yep, I mentioned last night I am on I think yesterday it was like 81 days. So I guess I only have 80 days to go till my biggest bag thaws, and it's only a 25% thaw. So pretty sad, pretty sad. If I was in her shoes, I'm definitely dying of dehydration sometime in the next 80 days. Dr. Doak, thank you for joining. Let's fucking go, Sir James. Let's fucking go. Hola, Rulo. Thank you for joining. Renee Aradia is here. Let's go. Let's go. James says all systems go. Do not use here. Frazek is here. Dogtail Ground Maintenance is here. Anyone got day one? I think we had somebody, I think last night we had somebody say they got day one or they got some very early day. Might not have been day one, but somebody had a very early day. Afro in the Wind says, sad, I went to check my redeem and only one of thaws is showing up at the address. It might be that second address issue we were talking about over there. Thank you for joining from Minnesota, NMXP3IB. Yep, I think some other people. Yep. Dog tail ground maintenance. When I checked, I had like 82 days, which I think meant 81 yesterday, and today's probably like 80, something like that. So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. On my biggest bag. I've got another bag. My second biggest bag is like January. It's like the second week of January, so it's a little bit better. How do you look up your address? I think I did one address. So watch the start of the video yesterday. Somewhere near the start of the video, I showed where to go. It's go to the Glacier Drop site and just hit the redeem button. You can go in and manually enter your address if you know the exact address, or you can hook up your wallet and check. Yeah, you can find more details if you watch yesterday's video at the start. That's right. We are uncensored only on the days ending in Y. That's exactly right. Mallow, good morning. Thank you for joining. You're joining. Oh, that's Steve Case. Oh my God, it's been so long. It's funny. Back in the day, I would have recognized that name immediately because it was literally one of the most important tech companies. Now it's an afterthought. It's a historical footnote. But back in the day, it was very important because we were all popping that disc in our towers and hearing those grinding dial-up tones, courtesy of Mr. Case there. Pucky Hawk is here. Neo Chad, never wished so much to be an ice cube. Yes, I too, I too would be happy to save this poor woman's life. I'm only concerned about her health. Can start buying tomorrow. That appears to be the case. Just got back from Milan. Oh, good for you, Mr. iWebco DMS. Good for you. I trust you had a great time. Sir James, so is everyone aping in on Night in a couple of hours or nah? That's a good question. I don't know. I'd be curious to know. This is kind of a demographic stat, not even demographic stat, but it's a stat we would never be able to collect really because we're a permissionless ecosystem. But the percentage of Cardano holders who are getting Night tokens they're getting an allocation of Night tokens either courtesy of the Glacier Drop or the Scavenger Mine or both. How many of those are buying Night tokens on top of that? That I don't know the answer to. Dr. Doke got 45 in 61 days. Yeah, you're on the better side. If you get a 45 and a 61, I mean, obviously 45 is exactly halfway and 61 is more than halfway, but better than my 82 days or whatever it was. Patrick, hello. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Marco says, today was my renewal of my house mortgage. I took 10,000 more to DCA. Hope it's a good time to buy. Does that mean you're not, okay, just to be clear, you're not saying you took a second mortgage on your house, right? You're just saying, you're not saying a second mortgage on your house. You're just saying you took extra cash to DCA, I think. Is Binance listing Night after all? We're going to talk about it. Jerry says, I'm buying. Okay, great. I'm planning to buy, but depends on the price. Obviously, says Bo Holly. Okay, yep. Mission Zambia, good morning. Thank you for joining. James says, let's go, Marco. Okay, let's get to it. Obviously, the thaw. We've been waiting for this for so long, guys. It's been so long. So let's see what we've got going on. So obviously, today we saw this message from Kraken saying we were going to experience a December 9th, 10 a.m. UTC launch from Kraken. They say Night is the unshielded native utility and governance token of Midnight Network, built to bring rational privacy to Web3. Eligible Glacier Drop recipients will see Night credited to their Kraken accounts. Deposit now. So, and then they've got some details. So Kraken, this is, I think for a lot of people, this was the big one they were waiting for. We kind of knew Kraken was in, and update from Marco. Yes, no second mortgage. Thank God. Thank God. I'm glad. I wasn't going to say anything if it was, but thank God. Thank God, not a second mortgage. Good for you. Good for you. That's the reasonable, much more reasonable answer. So thank God. Lovey 2588 says, good afternoon, AOS. Cardano is the GOAT, and others are starting to realize the fact. Let's go. Let's fucking go, Lovey. Let's fucking go. So Kraken is in tomorrow, reporting the same launch time as everybody else, 10 a.m. UTC, December 9th. Then we got this. So we saw this from Binance Wallet. They said Binance Alpha will be the first platform to feature Midnight Night on December 9th. Eligible users can claim their airdrop using Binance Alpha points on the Alpha events page. Once trading opens, further details will be announced soon. Please stay tuned to Binance's official channels for the latest updates. I have not seen, I checked a little bit ago, I hadn't seen any additional details on this. So it's a little bit confusing. They're saying that Binance Alpha will be the first platform among the Binance platforms to feature Night on December 9th. Is that what they're saying? Or are they saying they're going to beat everybody else's 10 a.m. UTC launch time? I wish they would have been a little more specific here. We can't really tell what the hell they're saying based on this, but it'd be cool if somehow, it'd be cool for us if somebody is launching earlier than 10 a.m. because in a lot of the parts of the world, that's pretty damn early. UTC, that's a very reasonable time to launch. In fact, maybe perfect for a lot of people. But in other parts of the world, 10 a.m. UTC, not perfect. Middle of the night. Middle of the night, not perfect for a lot of people. So if Binance is going to beat that, that would be nice. Okay, Mallow. Here's some intel from Mallow. On KuCoin, it says night launch in 5 hours. So that would be a little bit early. That would be a little bit early. 5 hours would be an early, it'd be 9 a.m. UTC. Is that right? Would that be 9 a.m. UTC? Emilio says, I regret not selling my apartment in 23 since nice DCA, live on the street for a few years. I know. God, crypto is the worst. In retrospect, I do this myself. I always go back and think, if I had sold this thing that I own, I could have put that into this crypto. And I don't do it so much now because I've been in Cardano since 2018. But prior to that, I would think to myself like, oh, I could have sold this thing that I own and put it into, other coins prior to Cardano and made this amount of money. But I guess the flip side of that is you could have also put it into the wrong coin and lost it all. So I hear you though. I also do these fictional historical fiction revaluations in my head. Yep, Mal is repeating on KuCoin. It says night launch in 5 hours from now. It's December 9th at 4:13 a.m. UTC right now. Yep, that's right. Blue Mammal, thank you for joining. So we also saw this important question. Where's Coinbase in all of this? Or Gemini? It would be so much funnier if Gemini was spelled that way. If Gemini was spelled that way, it'd be a much funnier name for a crypto centralized exchange. They're not passionately in love with us. Neither Coinbase or Gemini seem to be pining away for us. I don't know why. I think we're a pretty attractive bunch, charismatic and attractive, just a bunch of sexy motherfuckers. But Coinbase and Gemini are not either sexually or romantically interested in us, apparently, which is pretty depressing. But guess who was interested enough in us to allow limit orders to post early? That would be Kraken. Kraken, if it'll load, has allowed limit orders to post early. And the reason I'm showing these is so that people will not be disappointed. You see, it just collapsed. Like, okay, yeah, okay, they're showing a lot more. So this is the quantity that has to be got through. Finally, just since I started this video, basically, since the last time I checked, which was shortly before I started this video, we got this new limit order in here for 5 cents. This is for 2,000. So obviously 2,000 is pretty thin. And 62,000 is pretty thin. And then once you get past that, once you get past this 64,000, if I'm reading these commas and decimal points correctly, then we get to 10,000 at 1.15. Then we get to 4,000 at 1.1, 111,000 at 1, and then everything else is below a penny. So I think it's important. Let me remove this comment so you can see what's going on. So Everything else is below a penny. So we've got, we've got this many orders. We've got this quantity in the book, in the order book for Kraken Pro here, above at a penny or above, and all of this is below a penny. So obviously we won't know what this is really going to do. We've got quite a while until trading actually starts. We've got quite a bit. So I'm really curious to see what the price looks like. But people, if you've got, I think people who are used to airdrops probably aren't doing this. But if this is your first like airdrop rodeo, you should be prepared to see if you have very optimistic views of what the price is going to be on day one, or maybe it's better said at the end of day one. You should be prepared for a wide variety of possibilities, as you can see from this order book, right? Like obviously people place limit orders in order books, sometimes knowing that they're not going to hit, and that they're way outside of the range, but they just kind of throw them in there just in case. They're like, just in case, I'm going to put this outrageous order in the order book. So, any order could be that. But when you look at the order book, you also kind of get an idea of what people's expectations are and how much appetite there is for certain things. So when I look at this is very early. When I first started looking at this today, when I posted it earlier today on X, there was like this order at 2.2 cents, and then it was like there was maybe this order, and then everything else was below a penny. Maybe this order was in here at a penny exactly, but then everything else was below a penny. So the order book has grown quite a bit since then. We obviously got this order for 2000 night, but that's the only instance in which this order book has grown in that direction. It's grown north. It's grown north only with that one order. Everything else was southerly growth going down in price. Everything else was below that initial order of 2.2. And you got to wonder, I mean, is this somebody trying to support the price, or is this just somebody with an idiosyncratic view? This one is a little more understandable. I mean, neither of them, because of the prices we're talking about, neither of them is like some incredible amount of money. This one's a little more understandable because it's only 2000. This person is not trying to buy a billion. But this person, do they just have an idiosyncratic view of where things are going? Do they know something we don't? Or are they just trying to support the price a little bit? We don't know what they're doing. But it's kind of interesting to see. Mr. iWebCodema has released the Kraken. Malos has advanced orders start 10 UTC and trading starts 11 UTC. Okay, good. Is that on which exchange? Which exchange has said that? Do we know? Jordan for America is going to listen on the commute. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Orion's Belt, hola. Thank you for joining. Let's go. Man, if it's a penny, I will sell a kidney. Lovey says, okay. Jay Marie says, I'll take a penny to 3 cents all day. Mallow says, if it goes below a penny, I'll buy $1 million and let it sit for 10 years. It's gonna be interesting because we've got a lot of people in the Cardano ecosystem who are probably thinking more like that. A lot of people are probably thinking a little bit more like that. Like, hey, I'm a long-term community member in Cardano. This is our privacy layer in the greater Cardano ecosystem. I'll just buy it and sit here, because a lot of us have sat on our ADA since 2018. I've still got the ADA I bought in Q1 2018. And I think there's a lot of people in the same boat because we, foolishly round tripped it last cycle, some would argue. And so it's pretty easy to think long-term about Night if we're in that boat. However, we've got a lot of people who are picking up Night who are members of other ecosystems, Bitcoin people, Ethereum people, Avalanche. They're not getting nearly as much as we're getting, per ADA. The amount particularly per Bitcoin was like kind of laughable. The amount you got for a Bitcoin was kind of laughable compared to the ADA amounts. But they're still getting some. And I think a lot of those people are going to be much more likely to sell than us. I think they probably have a different outlook on anything in the Cardano ecosystem than we do. Volps, greetings. Thank you for joining from Australia. Appreciate you joining. Jay Marie says, let's not forget Dust is going to pay us. Yeah, the Dust exchange thing is, I think what's going to happen is, no matter what the price is tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of people disappointed in the price. You're going to see a lot of complaining. And the next thing, the rebuke to those people, the people who are sort of trying to defend Night, their rebuke is going to be, you don't understand what's going to happen with the Dust Exchange. You don't understand the utility of the Dust Exchange. And so it's sort of like that's a next step. We're not really going to understand until the Dust Exchange hits. And I believe Charles told us in his presentation that the Dust Capacity Exchange is going to happen during Mohalu in Q2, which is scheduled for Q2 of 2026. So we're not going to see the Dust Capacity Exchange until Q2. So that's after March at some point. And because we're talking about software development here, if a software developer tells me Q2, I usually think Q4, right? They claim that it's going to be very different with Night, and that may be the case. So I hope it's the case. But it sounds like the earliest we'd hear it is Q2. And if you take a pessimistic view of software developer schedules, their calendars, then maybe it's later than Q2. But we're not going to have that Dust Capacity Exchange for a while. So it's sort of like we're going to be waiting for this other foot to fall. People tomorrow, no matter what the price is, they're going to be complaining, and because people are silly. There's going to be people imagining that Night is going to have a market cap, it's going to have a price, the market cap of which would force it to rival Cardano. That's not going to happen. It's not going to have a market cap that like rivals Cardano when the dust settles. Anything can happen in the initial, hours of an airdrop. Wild stuff can happen. But after the dust settles, there are going to be people who are imagining prices that would require market caps like that. And those people are going to be disappointed. So we'll see what the price actually ends up being. But, this order book definitely does not support those kind of price expectations. Granted, this is very, very early and it's not live yet. This is post only. They're only allowing limit orders to post. So we'll see what happens when the other side of the order book is active. James says, even if it's 5 cents, I'm still getting a few grand for free. Emilio says, I'm more interested in what yield I would get from it. Yeah, I think a lot of us in Cardano, because the story of Cardano has really been a yield story. It's sort of this like, it's also sort of the curse of the Cardano ecosystem, right? We have this very, I'm going to use air quotes here, quote, risk-free baseline yield. That is the Ouroboros staking yield, right? Self-custodied. It's awesome. It's not, you don't have to worry about some intermediary losing your coins. There's no slashing. It's this awesome baseline yield that doesn't involve the risks that are present in a lot of other ecosystems. Because we have that, a lot of people in Cardano have become more focused on yield, which I think is a much better way to approach crypto, honestly. Like the degen sort of approach of buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling, like people do it, but all the people I know who made a huge amount of money in crypto, not people I know, I won't pretend like it's people I know personally, but the people who I know of, I don't have like a secret club of people making huge amounts of money in crypto or anything in real life, but the people who I know of who've made a lot of money in crypto, like vast majority of them made it as long-term guys. It wasn't that short-term degen thing. It was guys who like DCA'd into a project. They picked the right project. They DCA'd into it and they made a bunch of money. I mean, that happened last cycle in Cardano. A bunch of us were DCAing at, 2.8 cents at one point in early 2018. And by the end of the cycle, we had 100x'd. We were above $3. That's how I've seen people make money in crypto. It hasn't been the short-term stuff. It's been a long-term holding, and yield fits into that story very well, because the story of Cardano really has been about that awesome cycle we had last cycle. And since then, it's just been this, like, it's really been about that baseline yield. You know what I mean? I mean, we have projects in Cardano that we all like. anybody in Cardano who's active in the ecosystem can name their favorite project in Cardano, or at least a number of them that they like. But those projects haven't been like the screaming success that the 100x last cycle has been, or that the yield from staking has been. Like those two things have really been the big story around Cardano. We've got a great technical narrative and a great community narrative. Both those things, we have great stories we can tell about Cardano technically and about the Cardano community. Those are great narratives as well. But sort of like the retail guys making money narrative is really about those two things and not about some huge degen play where everybody, 1000x. That hasn't been the story in Cardano. Sir James says, I have no Fibonacci idea, so I'm just buying market at open. Yeah, I think not having Fibonacci ideas probably shows mental strength. That's probably mental strength. Much like not guiding your day's activities based on, like newspaper astrology. What's ADA's next move? Seeing that poor dehydrated woman with the ice cube made me thirsty, so I took a little drink there, which I don't normally do on these episodes. But what's ADA's next move? ADA's next move is Laos. Laos is the big thing. Input endorsers. So really though, I mean, when we say, if we're saying ADA's next move is something that's happening strictly in the Cardano ecosystem, it's fucking input endorsers. That's the next big thing. And that's huge. The big jab at Cardano for years has been our TPS and our transactions per second, our speed, scaling. We were great on decentralization, great on security. Third leg of the trilemma, not so much. That hasn't been our strong point. But input endorsers is going to do some great things. It's kind of interesting because when input endorsers launches, it's going to do some awesome things for us in terms of scaling. And then what could grow out of that initial launch of input endorsers? I think there's going to be like a lot of potential also built into it. Like the initial launch is going to be great, but it seems like they can just keep building more and more speed. Our temporary CTO, I covered his comments about input endorsers. He later went on to Algorand and then I think other ecosystems to CTO those ecosystems. But he described it as, basically you can have as much speed as you want with input endorsers, which is what Ouroboros Laos is going to be. And Charles has got a team working. They've been doing work on Ouroboros Laos all this time, and we just gave them a bunch of money to finish it off. So we're going to get Ouroboros Laos. That's going to be the next big move for ADA. But actually, I would say ADA's future is also inextricably tied to the other layers in the Cardano layerverse. And right now, the big other layer that's in the spotlight is Cardano's privacy layer, which is Midnight. So a lot of Cardano's story going forward, at least for some time, is going to be the Cardano plus Midnight story. And that has a lot to do with privacy, but it also has a lot to do with interoperability. It's a big interoperability play for Cardano. Cardano has certainly been its own little island, not to muddy the water, because we have the island, the pond, and the ocean analogy we used to talk about all the time. This is not a reference to that island, but Cardano has certainly been its own little island. And there hasn't been a lot of crossover, not a lot of interoperability. So Night is the privacy layer, but it's also really kind of, the story is becoming a story of it being the interoperability layer too. I mean, Charles didn't give all those Night tokens to those other ecosystems for no reason. He wasn't like, hey, you guys are awesome. Thanks for talking so much shit about us all those years. Here, have some free money. That wasn't why he did that. He was trying to remedy the issue, and one of the best ways to get somebody to not be a detractor is to give them a reason to be invested in your success. And I think that's what Cardano did here. He gave them a reason to be invested in the success of Midnight. And that reason was a whole bunch of Night tokens he gave to all those ecosystems. Bitcoiners got Night tokens. Ethereum got Night tokens. Avalanche got Night tokens. Who else? Algorand, I think, got Night tokens. Who else got them? Solana got them. Who else? I feel like there were some others, but a lot of big ecosystems. XRP got them. So all of these people now are invested in the success of Midnight, unless they just sell at the opening bell. If they sell at the opening bell of night trading, since there is no opening bell, we are 24/7, 365 bitches. There is no opening bell in crypto like TradFi. We have infinite opening bell. But if they sell at the opening bell of night trading, then they are no longer going to be invested. So the question is going to be, how many of them sell, right? It's sort of like how many of them collected, how many of them actually claimed, right? How many Bitcoiners actually claimed their night tokens? I don't know that figure. I'm sure the data is out there. We could probably figure that out right now. But it's like, how many Ethereum people claimed, how much of the eligible Ethereum claims? We don't know how many people, we don't have proof of human, but we know how many Ether could have claimed and did, and we know how many Bitcoin could have claimed and did. That's sort of one question. And then how many of them sell at the opening bell is another question, because if they do that, they're obviously no longer invested in the future of Midnight. But we'll see. Some portion of them certainly will not. So here's manager Mr. 741 with a prediction. Midnight will list at 0.2 to 0.6 of a penny. Okay. How could you complain for the price you picked it up for? Yeah, that's another very good point. It's like, unfortunately, people will complain. It's sort of like Charles was sort of like, hey guys, have some free money. And everybody's going to like get that free money in their hands and be like, this is all the fucking free money you gave me? What do you take me for? Some kind of a fool? Do you think I'm a fool, Charles? Am I your bastard son? You give me, I meant that metaphorically. I'm not implying Charles has a bastard son. Metaphorically. Am I the poor urchin on the street you throw a couple of shekels to? It's like, there's going to be complaints, unfortunately. And actually, everybody should just be grateful. Everybody should just be grateful we got the free money. I mean, granted, there is some like regulatory value in doing the distribution this way, right? It's like, if you, from a regulatory perspective, when you're launching a project like this, you have certain goals, right? You want to see widespread distribution for a healthy and robust market in your token. And, when Charles and those guys were planning this distribution, they had to worry that we would have ended up under Kamala White House, right? If they ended up under Kamala White House, every indication was that the same people possibly who ran domestic economic policy, including that related to crypto, would have ended from the Biden administration, who were all appointed by the dragon. The fucking dragon got to appoint all her flunkies in the White House to do the domestic economic policy stuff. As far as I could discern, it seemed like the dragon just got her run of the house in terms of domestic economic policy. So all of her flunkies were in charge of that, and they fucking hate us. Those motherfuckers hate us, right? Their policy on us was sort of like on site. If we see any crypto people, it's like they're driving around the neighborhood and they're like, like talking to each other, like between swigs of 40s, right? They're like drinking slurricane and shit. And they're like, yo, just remember, if you see those fucking crypto people, it's on site. Just fuck them up. No matter what you can do to fuck them up, just do it. And then they all take another swig of slurricane and they're like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. That was the whole thing going on in the Biden administration, because the dragon fucking hated us. So her flunkies hated us. And the Biden administration, it's like, it's like the, Christ, the way things were run, whatever your economic policy, whatever your whatever side of the political spectrum you're on. I'm not saying this about the right versus the left, but in that administration, it was kind of like the crazies were running the asylum and there was nobody in charge at the top. So it's like the dragons flunkies just got to do whatever the fuck they wanted to us on the crypto front. And they were kind of in league with Gensler at the SEC, you know, and the Fed was kind of like dabbling in some CBDC shit that would have created this panopticon. And it's unclear whether they were in favor of that, but the, you know, fucking anti-crypto army was definitely in favor of that shit. So that's what was going on in the last administration. And Charles and those guys, they didn't know if Kamala was going to win or if we ended up with, you know, Trump too. They didn't know what it was going to be. So they had to plan for either scenario. So if you have this goal of a healthy and robust, widely distributed coin to support healthy and robust markets in your coin, you've got to come up with a way to distribute that fucking coin without Gensler coming over and, you know, fucking gnawing on you, right? Just imagine Gary Gensler with his like little square teeth. I swear to God, that dude had like the weirdest. He was a very toothy man, but he had these like little square teeth. You can just imagine him like running up to you and like trying to like gnaw on your arm. You're like, dude, get the fuck off me. What are you doing? And he's just like trying to like bite a chunk out of you. That was like the whole thing. They had to worry about that going down right now when they launch, right? So so they came up with this strategy, right? If they'd done anything where they sold the coins, they could have banked on Gary Gensler's little square teeth, you know, taking a chunk out of their ass. So they came up with this great strategy. They're like, okay, we'll do an airdrop, but let's get something else out of it besides just dealing with the regulatory problems, the possible, you know, Kamala White House, which means anti-crypto army White House. Why don't we do an airdrop, but we'll try to get some interoperability out of it as well, some interoperability benefits. So we'll airdrop to all these other ecosystems in addition to Cardano. But of course, we're super cool. So we'll give a whole bunch of tokens to the ADA people and way less to the Bitcoin people and the Ethereum people because fuck them, they're free anyways. Like people pointed out, how could you complain for the price you picked it up for? So even though the Bitcoin people didn't get nearly as much as us, it's like, fuck them, they got something. So maybe that'll create some goodwill and we'll get some interoperability in the Midnight ecosystem. And as the privacy layer of Cardano, it's good for all of Cardano. So that's the way I look at it. It's a genius plan. I mean, it's the perfect plan for IOG and Midnight to have come up with to deal with any possible regulatory problems and at the same time, you know, get a good distribution for healthy and robust markets. Great plan. Get this added benefit, this added little bonus of interoperability, you know, or at least some cross-chain adoption, you know, however you want to label it. I think it was a genius plan. Here we are. A lot of those motherfuckers will probably sell on day one. It's gonna be like a hate sell. They're gonna like know a bunch of those little bastards are gonna know that it's a Cardano related thing and they're going to like hit the sell button and get so much like sexual gratification out of selling it because they're going to be like, take that, Charles, take that. I hope you like my sell. How do you like my big old sell, Charles? That's how they're going to be. A bunch of those dudes are going to be like that because they hate us so bad. They hate us as bad. A lot of those guys hate us as bad as the anti-crypto hates crypto. And just like the anti-crypto army hates crypto, they don't know why they hate us. They just know they're supposed to hate us. And so they're going to do their little sell and it's going to be a very gratifying moment for them. The thing is, we hope they're a small portion of the people. We hope, you know, the rest of the people are like normal people and they're just glad they got some free fucking money. That's what we hope it is, but we don't know. Those little bastards, you know, their little sharp teeth, they're going to hit that sell button. Some of them are going to hit the sell button the first chance they get, and it's going to be so gratifying for them because they hate us. So Emilio says, nice to see you all for a moment. Have a great one. You too, Emilio. Thanks for dropping by. What about Gemini? Gemini does not fucking love us. Gemini is not fucking in love with us. They're not passionately lusting after us for some reason. So fuck them. When the dust settles, I see what you did there. Yep. Yep. If it starts at a low value, that's good for taxes based on fair market value at the time you receive. Yeah, if you're valuing it at market value, if your cost basis is going to be market value at the time. This is not tax advice. You guys all get your tax advice from CPAs. This is not tax advice, but if that were your tax basis, then yes, it is good. Airdrops treated. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is. I mean, go talk to your CPAs. But I am certainly any airdrop I have ever gotten, I've treated as income. A lot easier that way. Treat it as income. Give yourself a cost basis. You know, and pay your taxes on that income. I mean, you're gonna pay the taxes when you dispose of those assets anyways. So it's like, do you want to pay taxes? Do you want to have a stepped up cost basis or not? So it makes sense to do it to me. That's why I do it. Cardano Universe says I'm going to hold Night for a while. Remember Liquid was like $120. Yep. I remember that. I remember that exact day well. I remember that quite well. Whoever said money doesn't grow on trees never staked Ada. Oh, very good point. Very good point. She makes me 32. I think you meant thirsty too, but it's thirsty as well. But it's funnier if you're saying she makes you feel like you're 32, which could be funny if you're younger than 32 or older than 32. If you're my age, you could see that as, yeah, dude, she makes me feel like I'm 32 as well. At Cardano, thanks for being here. Yep. Okay. Ada has a weak third leg. We do not. That's a lie. I was wrong. You're right, Kristen. You're right. We do not have a weak third leg. That's the wrong way to put that. That's the wrong way to put it. You're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out. When the inflation of the supply of a token and the yield of that token are both 6%, is there actually any yield? So this is so Frazek is pointing out something really important that some people don't think about in crypto. So we have a lot of tokens with higher yield than the yield we get as stakers in Ouroboros, Cardano's staking system. However, there is no yield. The yield is not what you think it is if the inflation of the token is that high as well, right? If your yield is 2.5% and your inflation is 2.5%, that's actually the same as your yield being 6% and the inflation being 6%. Unless you take into account the idea that a lot of people are missing out on the staking, then it's like vis-a-vis those other people, you're doing better than them. You're increasing your your bag in a way that they're not, because they're actually getting debased. They're actually getting debased. Their holdings are getting debased by the inflation, and you're actually keeping up with the inflation. But this is something a lot of people don't think about. I mean, all people see is they're like, oh, Cardano's yield in staking is this, but this other ecosystem, the yield is fucking, like 17.5%. And they don't realize that it's 17.5%. The inflation in that ecosystem is actually 20%. And the, insiders are somehow taking the other, 3.5%. While even the people getting the staking are getting debased because they're only getting 17.5% or whatever. Those are inflated numbers, but no pun intended. But you got to think about that issue. So a very good point by Frezak. D9U says Charles been breaking his back for Cardano. He gets my vote for best founder. Me too. Dude he should get so much more respect. One day he's gonna get tired. I've been saying this for years, but one day Charles is gonna get tired. He's gonna get a little more focused on, bringing back saber-toothed cats or whatever they're into down at Colossal, whatever it's called. He's going to get a lot more into glow-in-the-dark plants and anti-aging and, becoming the next Brian Johnson or something like that. That'll never happen. I don't think he'll ever become the next Brian Johnson, but he'll get a lot more into anti-aging and glow-in-the-dark plants and all that stuff and being a bison rancher. And he could just disappear. And that's when people will suddenly miss him. They'll be like, oh, damn, things were way better when Charles was around. The same people actually who are complaining right now, the people who would be the reason he would be leaving one day. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it did, those are the same people who'd be like, oh, damn, what did I do? It sucks now. It totally sucks. We don't have this super high profile character passionately devoting every thought of every day to advancing this ecosystem. People, He's the kind of dude, a lot more people would miss him the second he was gone. So people should give Charles a lot more credit than they do, for sure. Let's see. Kristen says, good morrow, people. I'm going to catch up with AOS tomorrow on replay. Okay, cool. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Omar Wright, let's go. Let's go, Omar. Sir James says, I remember the Uniswap airdrop. Price pumped, dropped, and then pumped. Did pretty well holding and flattering out profit. Flattering out profits? Doing something with profits. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, though. Laddering out profits. Okay, down here, laddering out profits. Yeah, no, I mean, airdrops are weird. Like watching them over the years, it's like this is not at all a shocking pattern. This kind of thing is not at all shocking. Airdrops are weird because you have a bunch of people getting a bunch of money for free, and then it's like, what do you do with it? It's sort of like stimmy checks, right? It's like, what do people do with stimmy checks? Some people put it into crypto. Some people go directly to Best Buy and just buy a bigger TV. You know, people do weird stuff. So Coinbase has given me a reason to go to Kraken now. Goodbye, Coinbase. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Coinbase is so not in love with us. It makes me really rethink using Coinbase because they have not done us any fucking favors at all. Like, I like a lot of the people at Coinbase, a lot of their executives. I like the things they say. They're definitely true crypto people in a lot of ways. Paul Graywall is very insightful as a crypto attorney. Brian Armstrong is basically, a crypto visionary. Having done what he's done, gone from like a couple of guys in an apartment building Coinbase to what it is today. He deserves a lot of credit in the history of crypto for being smart enough to take Coinbase public when he did, to make it much harder for Gary Gensler, SEC, to just stamp it out of existence. So I like the Coinbase guys, but god damn it, they do not do us any fucking favors. You know what I mean? It's like you got this neighbor. It's like you got this neighbor who's a really cool guy, very charismatic, does very impressive things. And it's like every time your house catches on fire, he just like stands out on his front porch and drinks a beer and doesn't like call you at work and say, yo, your house is on fire. It's like that neighbor, he's like a very interesting person, an admirable person, but god damn, did they not do us any favors? They don't do us any favors. Carve me a smile. Thanks for joining. Says, anybody know if there will be a way to generate dust from the night you hold to some other address besides your own? They talk about some of the dust mechanics in the white paper. But it's something you'll have plenty of time to learn about, since the dust capacity exchange seems like it's not based on Charles's recent speech where he introduces the different eras of night. That's not really going to be a thing we have to worry about until Mohalu, which is scheduled for Q2 of 2026. Dr. Doke says, I won't complain, but I sure hope it's worth enough to buy my wife a new laptop. Oh my God. Okay. So my significant other offered me their laptop many times during the scavenger mine. And every time I refused because I was afraid of this happening. But the flip side of that is that I think I definitely messed up my own laptop that I'm using for the stream right now. So I guess I ended up in the same boat as you. I think I'm gonna have to buy a new laptop as well. So we shall see. Okay. Cardano Universe says, I believe Kraken is Cardano's best friend. Kraken is my friend now. I'll refer them to everyone now. Yeah, I kind of think that Binance has also been good to us. I think Binance, probably CZ personally, I suspect, has a very favorable view of Cardano, because I think both CZ and Charles have been maligned to some degree by the greater crypto ecosystem. So I think CZ understands the position we're in. But CZ fucking ended up getting locked up for a while, so he wasn't really able to help us on a consistent basis. And Jesse Powell over at Kraken has always been our friend. I remember trading back in the day before Coinbase even carried ADA. I remember making my DCAs on Binance all those years, and then Binance kind of blew up, and we had the split. Before it really blew up and CZ got locked away, we had Binance, basically Binance World, Binance Global, and Binance US, and things were kind of screwed up. But prior to all that, it was always Binance and Kraken. So I'm like you. I believe Kraken is sort of our best friend. Like, I think Binance wants to be our best friend, but they're not quite as reliable as the old Kraken there. Kraken has always been our friend, though. And I think a lot of it, I mean, Jesse Powell is another dude who I love. If you want to talk about a guy who is a true crypto guy, that is Jesse Powell. The dude is such a crypto guy. Like, at various times, you would see Kraken. Jesse Powell would say something that was super controversial, and I would be like, 100%, bro. Fucking A. That's exactly how I feel. And then the Kraken people would be like walking it back. They'd be like walking it back because they knew whatever he said just pissed off everybody in Silicon Valley. Because Jesse Powell is definitely, his viewpoints are definitely that like very libertarian crypto ethos thing, right? Austrian economics and freedom, all those things. And he said a few things that have really pissed off a lot of people in Silicon Valley, including, I believe, if I remember correctly, contingents of employees at Kraken. And, like the other people at Kraken had to kind of walk it back. So I appreciate Jesse Powell for that. He doesn't fuck around. He doesn't fuck around with compromising his principles. I think he's a principles first guy. Not saying first principles, but principles first. Puppers update. Puppers just slammed the keyboard and hustled out of the office. Chill, dude. You got 2 days to get your night biscuits. Yeah, Puppers. Sounds like Puppers is seeing in this order book, things he doesn't want to see. Probably like a lot of people right now. The key with Night is to hold till Q3 when it starts to collect dust. Dust is the hidden gem. Tumbleweed, who knows? You might be right. You might be wrong. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see. We shall see. Puppers just said, fuck Gensler, borrow bones cheaper. Fair enough. Gary Gensler, Chipmunk and out. Yeah, I swear to God, dude. It's like every time a crypto every time any project in crypto, any notable project in ecosystem turned their back, it's like Gary Gensler came bounding out of, some burrow under an oak tree and just like ran up on all fours and jumped in the air until his little square teeth could just take a chunk out of their ass, and they're like, oh my God, what is that on my ass? Some little thing is just attached his teeth to my ass. And they realize it's Gary Gensler like filing an enforcement action against him. Jesus Christ. That's been the story. That was the story of the last administration. James Syracuse wants to know what kind of dog Puppers is. At Cardano is speculating a husky. Fair enough. Crazy Speed Freak says Gary Gensler gives me Lord of the Ring Call of vibes. Also fair. Well, you know what's sad is I actually liked him when he was an MIT professor saying wonderful things about crypto in his crypto classes he taught at MIT. I actually liked him. Big bald, all testosterone Shiba. I think you said it's a Shiba. Yeah, Puppers is a Shiba before. Bankless bitches sell. Oh, those guys are definitely gonna fucking sell. Are you kidding me? I would be shocked. I mean, those guys won't even claim. Those guys probably hate it so bad. They probably I would not be surprised if those guys didn't even fucking claim. They probably already talked about how they haven't fucking claimed, or they haven't mentioned it at all because that in their minds is the best way to like diss us or some shit. I'm sure whatever they think is like the most like pejorative action they could take. I'm sure that's the strategy they settled on. Brian Packard, good evening. Thank you for joining, Brian. Thanks for joining. Cardano Universe likes Tumbleweed's prognostications. Hilldog says, seriously, fuck Gemini. Their exchange is retarded anyway. Gemini is like so irrelevant to me that I've never even visited. I don't think I've ever even visited their fucking landing page. That's how. And you know what's sad is I actually kind of like the Winklevi. When I heard about the Winklevi's like cold storage strategy of having shards of their private key deposited in safe deposit boxes in banks on different coasts, I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. These guys are super crypto guys, right? And that was kind of like when we first found out about all that stuff. It was sort of after we all found out about the role they played, or didn't play in the founding of Facebook, depending on whether you believe them or Mark Zuckerberg, but they definitely got their dough out of that. And then all of a sudden they become crypto guys. I was like, oh, fucking Winklevi, you guys are awesome. Olympians, I think too, right? Weren't they like rowers or some shit? Did some kind of rowing discipline. I was like, oh, you guys are fucking awesome. And then they fucking launched Gemini, and it's so irrelevant to me. I don't think I've even visited their fucking landing page. It's been so irrelevant to me. So yeah, fuck that exchange. Jordan Togstad. Let's go, Jordan. Fuck Winklevoss babies. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, and Winklevi, if you're listening, it's not because we don't like you. It's that we don't like that you don't support Cardano. That's what we don't like. It's nothing personal. We just need you to support Cardano, okay? Cardano versus I remember liquid at 50. Winklevoss twins are such babies. Yeah, I mean, like, support Cardano. We won't think that. It's nothing personal. It's just the Cardano thing. I'm a huge fan of Changely. Amazing exchange. I've heard of Changely. I don't know anything about them. I would say something else about Winklevi, but I'll refrain because there are ladies in here. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. No puppers. You're not getting a gag ball for the poodle with your free Nash rewards. Puppers is aggressive. Puppers is very aggressive. He is an aggressive Shiba, but I mean, they all seem aggressive to me. They all seem aggressive in a good way. I like them, but I don't think of them as like lacking in aggressiveness. Kraken has always impressed me, says Pucky Hawk. Been there for years. I have other accounts, but I don't use them much. Yeah, I've used Kraken quite extensively in the past. Poor Bankman. Are you talking about SBF, or are you talking about the bankless guys? Hey, did not get my notification. Glad I caught the live show. Let's go. Taz, thank you for joining. I do not know why you guys are not getting the notifications. It's probably related to the fact we've made the channel uncensored. I'm sure there's, some like male librarian who works at the tech platform this video is on right now. He entered something, nothing against male librarians, but the type I'm talking about. I'm sure he put something into the algorithm, like if somebody uses uncensored language, they do not deserve to be heard by as wide an audience. We need to censor their speech. I'm sure that dude, just walks around all day knowing he's saved humanity from hearing mean words. Gensler is a weasel. Yeah, it's more like a weasel. He is more like a weasel, but it's kind of funnier if like a chipmunk attacks you in the ass. Weasel, it seems like they'd be way more likely to do it, but it's kind of funnier if it's a chipmunk, right? Scolder says we need vitamin CCTV. Yeah, we haven't had a vitamin CCTV in a long time. Yeah, that I'm sure that'll come back. That'll come back at some point. Cardano Universe says I like the PayPal features. Okay, so tell me, Cardano Universe, is PayPal still a walled garden? Like you can't take your shit out of there? Because I'm like, when PayPal first announced they were like launching crypto, I was like, oh, sweet, this is what we've always wanted. Like we always wanted like PayPal to launch fucking crypto. And then at first when it launched, at least last time I checked, it was like a walled garden. Like you can get your crypto there, but you can't fucking take it out. And then I know they got a bunch of shit for that. So did they change it? Is it no longer a walled garden, or is your shit just stuck there? Regarding Winklevi, their Winkle bitches, their issue has to be fair launches. Fuck them. I don't know. God, I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they don't support us. I don't know why they won't support us. I wish they would. I actually I actually, like I said, I like some of the things about their story. I wish they would support us. Pupper said Gensler good for one thing. They sound like CIA assets, the twins. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of recruiting. I'm not saying that's the case, but obviously we all know there's a lot of recruiting going on those campuses. We need a Cardano bank. We do. We've talked about that recently. Um, Kraken has, at least in the past, had significant activities going on in Wyoming. Caitlin Long's Custodia Bank is active as a Wyoming Speedy Bank. I don't know what's happened to the Kraken activities, but yeah, we need a Cardano bank. We do need a Cardano bank. I think that's true. I hadn't really thought about it extensively recently until you guys started bringing it up in the comments, but I think that's kind of true. FTX Bankman. Okay, you meant FTX Bankman. Have you ever compared Zcash and Cardano blockchains as far as the speed? Do they compare? If Night is bringing the same zero knowledge, then should we apply the same market value as Zcash cash? So this is one. Okay, this is one of the things, Brian. Thank you for bringing this up. This is one of the things that makes me very optimistic for Night, for the Night token. And speaking of optimistic, look at this, guys. We now have an order in the order book only for 338. Only for 338 Night tokens. If I'm reading this decimal point correctly, and it's not, this is the Night USD order book, not the Night Euro order book. So I'm assuming I'm reading it North America style. We now have an order for 28.9 cents. This is a vast improvement over 5, but in order books, you got to look at the quantity. It looks like it's only 338. So anyways, that obviously would be burned through very quickly. So the Zcash price action recently, and I'm not talking about over the last 2 weeks, but over the last like months, the Zcash order or price activity is one of the most promising things to point to if you are optimistic about the market cap value of the Night token. Okay, look at this. Right as I said that order went away. That little tiny order went away, and we got a 1,818 order, a much bigger order, but only for 5.5 cents, right? It's like if you're entering a limit order in the order book, you had one so much higher, like that very small one, you probably weren't really looking at the order book when you put your limit order in. So that's probably somebody, and especially based on the size, it's probably somebody who doesn't really understand how order books work, and they threw that order in there. Or maybe they do, and they were like, okay, there's going to be a bunch of orders that are going to be on top of my order if I put it at something like 5.5. So I'll put it way up above, but obviously they pulled that order. So the other weird thing about order books is any of these limit orders could be canceled at any time. So if you're not familiar with what happens in order books, there's a lot of that kind of fuckery where you think an order's there, and then the next thing you know, that order's gone. So there's a lot of that. So a lot of people, I think, cut their teeth in crypto trading on AMM dexes, automated market maker dexes with liquidity pools. And so they're maybe not as used to, back in the day, we were all looking at these kind of order books. This is only like half of an order book because obviously no one has their Night yet to fill this side of the order book. But back in the day, if you were trading crypto, you spent all your time looking at order books just like this because there were no AMM dexes. There were no liquidity pools. So anyways, I agree. I think the Zcash story is an excellent story, and it's one of the bright spots to think about if you want a much higher Night market cap. Will that all carry over to midnight? Will that kind of halo effect carry over to midnight? And how do we compare Zcash versus midnight? Zcash has been so irrelevant to me all these years. I couldn't even tell you the fundamental characteristics of Zcash, other than the Z part of it, but I couldn't even tell you anything about it. So I hope the halo effect carries over, though. Yes, Gemini, we do not hate you. Gemini, we don't hate you. Just support Cardano and we'll love you. We'll love you. Right now, we don't love you, though, because you don't support Cardano. Mel librarians always get blamed. Yeah, and actually, I've actually known at least one male librarian in my life who's a very non-objectionable fellow. He's very non-objectionable, but he's also the kind of guy who would put something like that in the algorithm and punish channels like this. But he's actually otherwise a very pleasant guy. I wish Satoshi had invented Cardano or Bitcoin was proof of stake, and everyone in crypto would be one happy family. At the moment, crypto is its own worst enemy. This is very true. Frazek's point is a very good one. The funny part is, if Bitcoin had been proof of stake, we never would have invented proof of work. Like proof of work never would have fucking existed if Bitcoin had been proof of stake. This is something I've thought about quite a bit. Like the thing that Bitcoiners pride themselves on the most, this idea that the value of their asset is tied to the cost of energy required to mine a block. They're very proud of that, but nobody would have ever fucking invented proof of work if Satoshi had figured out proof of stake and just ran proof of stake. The reason he didn't run with proof of stake, nobody knows, exactly, because we only have very selected writings of Satoshi. But the reason he didn't invent proof of stake is because he didn't know how to make it work. Right? So, and if you think about it, like proof of stake would not have worked in the early days of Bitcoin, because if you are Satoshi and you're the only one mining it, and then you send some to Hal, if you send some to Hal, who I think he's actually my top candidate for Satoshi, Hal Finney. It's like, oh, I just happened to have done the first Bitcoin transaction ever with this guy named Hal Finney. He's totally not me. And he also died, which explains the disappearance of Satoshi. And he was smart enough to be Satoshi. And kind of the right age to be sort of an Asian fetishist. So he could have. No offense to anybody in that age group, but he's the right age, to be very much into Asian stuff. But if I believe that if Satoshi had figured out proof of stake, he would have run with proof of stake, and nobody would have ever fucking invented proof of work. It would have been ridiculous, right? But like I was saying though, if you think about it, like if Satoshi was a different person than Hal Finney, like it would have been hard to make proof of stake work, because the second there's trading, like after the Bitcoin pizza day, Bitcoin was still pretty cheap. So the security of Bitcoin would have been tied to, whatever it would have cost to buy half of the existing Bitcoin. So that would have been a pretty low value. That would have been a pretty low value in the early days. I don't know what the value would have been. I forget what the actual Bitcoin pizza price was and how many coins were actually outstanding at that point, but it would be a very different security calculation. The amount required to buy 50% of the outstanding Bitcoin at that point versus the, security calculation these days based on, these many, many, many locations around the world full of warehouses of ASICs consuming energy. Good morning, Night Scavenger, Dolph B. Wolf. Morning. Thank you for joining. This is an exciting morning too. PayPal's keys, therefore PayPal's crypto. That's how I've always felt. That's always been my understanding of PayPal crypto, that it's a walled garden. Okay, if Charles opened a fucking Cardano bank, raise your hand if you become a member. Oh, I would open an account. I mean, it's like it'd have to be competitive. It'd have to be competitive though. It couldn't be like, hey, we're gonna charge you fees on your fucking checking account. Your savings account is gonna have a shitty yield that's like sub Cardano staking, and anytime you convert from dollars to Cardano, we're gonna charge you a fucking fee and a spread like Coinbase. I would not fucking do that. But if it's like, hey, there's going to be really reasonable conversion, preferential, maybe most favored nation status conversion between fiat and ADA, like I'm talking free conversion maybe, or near free or at cost, then I'm in. But if it's a fucking money-making circus with spread and fees every time you convert, then I would kind of be like, fuck that. But I would still be tempted just because it's a Cardano bank. But I think what I'm saying is if it's a Cardano bank, it needs to be very, very low cost, moving back and forth between fiat and ADA. If not, why would you do it? Why would you do it? It's got to be way cheaper than centralized exchanges. Otherwise, why would you do it? And it kind of depends how far advanced stablecoins are by then, right? If we're able to just use stablecoins, willy-nilly, we're able to get them very easily, convert between ADA and stablecoins very easily, and spend stablecoins in the real world very easily, then the need for a bank like a Cardano bank is much lower, then we would need the Cardano bank to be competitive with those rails. So, because we wouldn't really need the TradFi rails that a bank would provide. Someone in the chat just posted that order. That's kind of what I thought. That's kind of what I suspected. I kind of thought somebody watching the video probably put that order in there and then pulled it, which is pretty funny. I mean, that's probably what I would have tried to do if I was watching. Still counting down to something massive in 54. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is the one guy's 70. What did it start at? 75 days? Was it 75 days initially? Trillions of dollars. I believe it was trillions of dollars of liquidity in the next 75 days. We're down to 54 days or less. Okay, according to 8 Eclipse. That's interesting. We should all bring it up to him if we get to day 0 and we have not seen trillions of dollars of liquidity. At which point, I'm sure if he's like most crypto commentators, he will just invent something he'll claim he was actually referencing. That's what most crypto commentators would do. Like, oh, actually, you're mistaken. There was trillions of dollars of liquidity in this sense, something like that. Weasels ripped my flesh. I think that's what a lot of crypto projects who got enforcement actions would say, for sure. Night at 40 cents tomorrow. Man, we shall see. The order book does not provide us evidence of that so far. I'll say that. Hey, AOS, this is Hot Fries. Hey, AOS, Keegan is telling me I can only enter a post. Oh, Kraken is telling me I can only enter a post limit order. Yeah, so they had that warning. They had that warning on Kraken originally. In fact, it used to show right on the screen I'm on, because this is I haven't signed in obviously, but this is Kraken Pro right here. I can change the assets we're trading, all those things right on the screen. And it used to have this post limit order warning right now. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but I'm pretty sure they're just saying, hey, nobody can execute against your orders. Nobody can be a counterparty like executing against your limit orders right now. They're just sort of informational until we go live. That's what I'm guessing that means, but I don't know. I don't know exactly. I haven't read their exact definition of that. So, answer: to enter a post limit order on Kraken, follow these steps. Select the trading period you wish to trade, choose limit as the order type, enter your desired price and amount. I mean, that's pretty much how limit orders work normally. Check the post only option to ensure the order is added to the order book and not executed immediately. Submit the order. Oh, post only. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if it was executed immediately, you would have to have you'd either have to have somebody executing market orders to be a counterparty to your limit order, or you'd have to have the order books cross, where you have a sell and a buy, an ask and a bid at the same prices, or crossing each other's prices. So because we only have one half of the order book, the order book can't cross. The order books can't cross right now, and there's no market orders because the market isn't live. So that'll make sense. That'll make sense. Pucky Hawk says, if Cardano had female librarians, it would be a lot more popular and possibly be an OnlyFans. Yes, there are definitely large properties on the internet and on that platform that are librarian oriented. I'm sure. I'm sure of it. I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure of it. Army of Spies, I'm trying to redeem my Night tokens that keep saying I don't have any allocations. I know I claim my tokens using Lace. Have you tried manually entering the address? So the thing about Lace is you can have multiple, you can sort of be dealing with multiple addresses in multiple accounts in one wallet, each of which will have its own public address. So try to manually enter the actual address into the Glacier Drop redeem portal and see if that helps. So I think that's probably, if I had to guess, I would guess that's the problem you're running into, but I could be wrong. So yeah, so I mean, I think we're going to see over the next couple hours, we're going to see this post only, I'm using air quotes here, post only order book, you know, just get larger and larger. The question is, I mean, we're still only two limit orders above that initial high price, which was 2.2 cents. When I posted earlier on X today, that was the price. And that's sort of, we've still only got two orders above that, one for 2000 night and one for 1800 night, which is not a lot at all. That's not a lot at all. 3800 night. This 62,000 one, you know, the question is, will this still be there? If this is a savvy limit order placer who put this in there, you know, a lot of times what you'd see back in the day when I used to spend a lot of time staring at order books, what you'd see is somebody'd have a big wall like this in place. And then as soon as the other side of the order book burned through these top two orders, all of a sudden they pull this order, and then like this guy pulls this order, and then, you know, it's just like zip. So a lot of times these little walls like this, they just sort of like evaporate before they get executed against. So that's a thing. That's a thing we could see, or maybe not. We don't know. So yeah, I think let me see if I can find I'll try to find that post for you from earlier when, yeah, so this is what it looked like earlier. Check this out. This is what the order book looked like earlier. See, 2.2 was the very top. There was nothing above 2.2. We just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I first noticed it, we had 5 orders on that side of the order book, and 2.2 was the very top. And you can see it's still the exact same number, 62,021. So that's the same limit order. Oh no, nope. It might be somebody added. It could be that somebody added to that initial order or initial series of orders. We don't know how many it was actually, but it could be that someone added to it at the same price, just slightly, because this one earlier was 62,021. So either somebody adjusted or somebody added to the initial limit order to increase the quantity a little bit there. IAU before says, I had the same problem with Lace and Ledger and Redeem Portal. Guys on Midnight Discord told me to try a NuFi wallet. It worked for me after that. Yeah, you're probably, I'm guessing it's the multi-address thing. So for people who don't know, we've had single address wallets in Cardano before, like Nami, I think originally was a single address wallet where you could basically just have one account. You know, when you open up the wallet, you've got one account, you do all your trading in that one account, which is good for people, especially when they're starting out. And then you've got this multi-account thing, which can be super confusing because you might do something in one account and then you sort of reconstitute the wallet, but you don't reconstitute the multiple accounts, you know, that you were previously using in that wallet. So you run into those kinds of problems. So that's a thing. That is a thing too. That is also a thing. So, okay, let's see. What do we have here? If I did the math correctly, Zcash is max of 21 million and Night is 24 billion. Zcash around 400 USD. That would make Night around 20 cents USD. Not saying that's day one, but a year out. Yeah, I mean, I guess so I wish it was like, it's sort of like MMA math, you know. It's sort of like this fighter beat this fighter, Fighter C lost to Fighter B, therefore Fighter A is going to beat Fighter C. And then Fighter A loses to Fighter C, and all of a sudden the MMA math doesn't work anymore. That's kind of like we kind of have crypto math too. We sort of have that same thing in crypto. It's like sometimes there are these intangible things like community that aren't reflected in the math. I think there are certain attributes like that that are pretty hard to quantify in crypto and are really important. So we'll see. But Zcash is definitely like an important story for comparisons to Zcash are an important story for Midnight to tell in these early days. I think how much people accept that story probably will have an impact on the price, and we'll see. We'll see when Clarity Act. So everybody knows the Clarity Act is the House version of the market structure bill. Now we're in the Senate. It should have happened already, but we had the government shutdown. The certain people in the Senate in November were swearing they were going to get this thing done by mid-December. And obviously, Trump is going to sign it as soon as it hits his desk. He's going to very happily sign that thing. When does it hit its desk, though? Do they actually get it in before the Christmas break, or is it going to be in 2026? I hope it's in December, but if you put a gun to my head and made me predict, I would probably be skeptical and say we're more likely to see it in January. So I hope that's not true. I shouldn't even say I would predict that because there's no way to know. There's no way to predict it, but I kind of have a feeling I'm kind of afraid we'll see it in 2026 and we won't get it in December, but it'd be super nice if we got it in December. I'll be so stoked if we get it, but they've kind of got to get it through the they've got to get it through the Senate, and the Senate is busy, sort of being at civil war. So we'll see how that goes. The guys running VPS, their cost average needed to be above 0.002 to pay the bills. Oh yeah. So all the all the API miners were running cloud instances, really big cloud instances, to mine as much Night as they could. I remember doing the calculations when I was doing a little cloud mining on Google Cloud Platform. Just kind of for the experience, I was using the free credits Google Cloud Platform would give anybody, but I kind of ran the numbers when I did it, and I remember thinking to myself at the time it was going to be very possible that we'd come in under that number. So it was kind of a gamble for those guys who mined a huge amount of Night using various cloud compute. They took a risk. That was a little bit of a gamble for sure. Let's see. I ported my Yoroi wallet to Lace and used Lace to connect for my claim. So did you initially okay, and you used Lace to connect for your claim. So I would try to figure out exactly what address it is and manually enter that address. That would definitely be my next step. Sub-Zero says, I don't know, it's been awfully quiet. Yeah, we haven't heard much. Like, I think a week and a half ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, we heard something from the Senate, somebody being optimistic about a mid-December, but that's my main problem. We haven't heard enough. We should have heard a bunch of fighting and seen a bunch of new drafts, and I haven't seen them. If they're out there, maybe they're out there and I've just missed them, but I definitely have not seen any new drafts. We got that terrible fucking draft the other day that was basically like nonsense. But we haven't seen any like reasonable drafts or any reconciliation between the different contingents running that previous draft and the people who would run a draft. Looks a lot more like the Clarity Act. So we'll see. I'm not optimistic. Now that you point out that it's been quiet, that is definitely a basis for being not optimistic for a December Clarity Act. Anyone know anything about Defensio? I've seen that name somewhere, but I don't know a damn thing about it. Doesn't Changeley get shit on all the time by Ledger Live users? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. That also sounds familiar, Mission Zambia, but I also don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. All right. Well, guys, we have gone for an hour and 24 minutes. I think we've covered, I didn't cover a wide variety of the kind of, just general news going on today, because I think the thing that everybody's thinking about is what kind of prices are we going to be talking about in a couple fucking hours here? That's the big thing on everybody's mind. So I wanted to just kind of focus on that. So we covered, I hope you'll forgive me for covering a narrower spectrum of things today, but I thought today was one of those good sessions to just focus in on the real shit on everybody's mind. But I hope everybody's got their fingers crossed for good prices, whether you're selling or not. I hope everybody's got their fingers crossed for good prices in a couple of hours here. I mean, how far away are we now? We're like 4.5 hours. Are we like 4.5 hours from the launch? 4 hours and 34 minutes or something from the launch time quoted by a lot of parties. So we're getting pretty close. I know some people will be awake for it. I know some people, especially in North America, will probably be asleep during that time. But by the time everybody's awake tomorrow morning, for the North America people, and getting ready to go to bed for the Eastern Hemisphere people, probably, depending on which part of the Eastern Hemisphere you're in, I think we're going to have a good idea what these first day prices are going to be looking like. So everybody keep your fingers crossed for that. But let's see, Mission Zambia says they're listening with a 20-minute log. Price is irrelevant to me. Yeah, I hope a lot of people are in that camp, and the price isn't really going to make or break anybody's just December. So I hope everybody is just I hope everybody's in the kind of position where it's not going to be earth shattering if the price comes in at too low a point. But anyways, I hope everything goes well with the prices and the launch. And I hope it's a great day for the entire greater Cardano ecosystem. But otherwise, I hope everybody is starting out a fantastic week. And I will talk to you soon.